representing Franchise Secrets, Eric Von Horn.
Welcome to the Franchise Secrets podcast. Eric Van Horn here with today's guest, Jon Sabo. Jon is my business partner along with Zach and Josh in Mighty Dog Roofing. And I thought it'd be really interesting to have Jon come on the podcast to talk about why he partnered with the three of us, what the partnership looks like. And that way people can understand as a franchisee, what it's like to become a part of an emerging brand, a brand that just started franchising. Also, if you're an entrepreneur or you're a franchisor and you want to scale as a franchisor rapidly, what that looks like as well, because we just started franchising and we are scaling rapidly. So Jon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
Let's, man, we've known each other for a while. I remember we had so many conversations before we actually partnered together and created Mighty Dog Roofing. Let's go back because you're an industry guy. You know roofing inside and out, and you also know it from basically like a semi-absentee owner. You live in one state, own it in another, even though they're not like hundreds of miles apart. Well, how far apart are they?
160.
So not hundreds, almost hundreds.
They're all about 2.5 hours away from each other.
So what attracted us to Josh from our perspective, I'd kind of like to go back and forth, like us as the franchisor and you as, wanted to be a part of a franchisor that's scaling rapidly. What attracted us to you is that you had a business, you've been successful for a longer period of time. You put good systems and processes in place because it wasn't in your backyard. So you had to put those systems and processes in place. So we love that about you. I don't even know if we ever told you yet why we like some of this stuff, but the track record, what you've created and how you created it. So that way people buying a franchise like they are today can do it as owner operator or kind of semi-absentee or lifestyle business, which it really was for you. So would you say like it was a lifestyle business for you?
Yeah, no, I would say that. It very much was. It was just it was a business that I couldn't be there physically day to day and wanted to have the ability or the transparency to see into the business and what the key performance indicators were on a given day. What was going on and how I could help, not being there physically.
So we like founders that have a profitable, successful business with a team and that want to turn it into a franchise, or they have a small franchise and they want to scale it fast with horsepower brands. So that's what we liked about you. As you, from your perspective, looking at horsepower, or Eric, Josh, and Zach, what was attracting you to us?
So you and Zach, particularly having the franchisee experience and your marketing experience and just the hands-on. Josh, he ran a location as well with Monster Tree, but what was attractive to him, obviously, was the franchisor experience and, what he did with Redbox and Mighty Dog and just seeing what it was that he's done. It kind of, the proof was in the pudding, and how he got there, I just didn't really,
It's
didn't
not
know
as
what I
easy
didn't
as
know.
it looks. You don't know what you don't know. It's not as easy as it looks. As a franchisor, somebody that here's the thing, a lot of success, and you have a successful business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that get into franchising, they have a successful business. Maybe they have 3 or 4 locations of a successful business. But once you go from your successful business to franchising your successful business, you no longer are get to keep your eye on the ball on your business as much as you used to, because now you have to do the training, the support, the marketing, the financials. You have to, everything, the vendor relationships, there's so many things that go into the franchising side of things. And it took Josh years to get to the point where he successfully had a successful, mature franchise at Monster Tree Removal. It didn't happen overnight, but because of his experience and not only doing it there, but also Redbox Plus, that's what attracted me to partner with Josh, because I know he had done it successfully. And Redbox Plus has zero failures, zero closures. And so, you know, that was the same reason you liked Josh in the mix is the same reason I like Josh in the mix. I knew that we could grow to 10 brands doing $1 billion of revenue at horsepower brands much faster with with Josh than I could by myself. And that's why any business person that wants to scale rapidly as a franchisor, either they need to pay millions of dollars for a Josh Skolnick to coach them, or partner with somebody that has done it, or partner with horsepower brands, because this is what we now do. So right. I'm the same way. So in terms of like the challenge, looking back, Jon, what are the challenges that you would have just like, you didn't see going into it? Like you're grateful that you have someone like Josh or me or Zach in there to be like, this is how it's done. What are the roadblocks or the challenges that you didn't have to overcome on your own looking back now?
So, I mean, honestly, a lot of the relationships from the marketing, the accounting, you know, obviously I had a lot of the relationships from the roofing and the supplier groups and the manufacturers, but not knowing it on a national level, who to go to, you know, for marketing, Google Ads. I've been burnt before in that space, and I didn't want to go down that path again. In fact, I made a business decision years ago that I was just like, you know, that's it. I'm not going to do it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it on my own, because I'm tired of throwing money out the window.
Yeah, it's a shortcut, right? And it's the same reason Josh, having the experience of negotiating, even with so you brought the industry vendors to yep. us, and then, you know, you and Josh negotiated with them to be able to give, you know, the best deals to our franchisees. And you have to paint the vision. And one of the things that Josh is really good at, I think anybody going into scaling a franchisor, and especially scaling it rapidly, if you want to scale it rapidly, you have to have those really good vendor relationships set up from the beginning. And I couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. Zach couldn't do it. We couldn't have done it without Josh, because he go to the vendors that didn't know him from Adam and say, hey, this is what I've built and this is what we're building. Are you with me or you not? And just the track record to be able to have that power behind you is invaluable. I mean, were you surprised with some of the things that were able to get done because of that track record that translated instantly into Mighty Dog Roofing?
Yeah, no, I actually heard it firsthand from some of my suppliers, you know, that they get multiple phone calls a year. Like, hey, you know, how serious am I supposed to take this? From friends of mine in the industry that it circled back, and, you know, the friends of mine said, no, I think you should take it serious, because they are onto something here, and, you know, they know me, and not just going to spin my wheels, and Josh having the track record, and you and your experience, and Zach. So it was kind of, it's expedited that growth too, you know, so because the track record's there, so the seriousness is there, that, hey, take us seriously, because we're coming and we want you with us. If you're not, you know, they want to be an early partner as well, so they can grow with us, because that's what they are, partners.
100%. 100%. And we were with some of those vendors a few weeks ago, and, you know, they were blown away by when they came to our headquarters, and they at what they were seeing and what they were experiencing. So just to give the audience an update, we just started franchising early 2021 and at Mighty Dog Roofing, under Mighty Dog Roofing. And now we have 10 or 12 franchisees, and we'll have 40 by the end of the year. That's the goal. That's our big goal. And most of the time that would sink a franchisor. Any franchisor goes from like hardly anything to 40 franchisees, will sink them. So I want to just bring some, just a point to anyone that is part of an explosive growth franchise like that. That can be very dangerous if you don't have experienced leadership. And I know other franchisors out there that are experiencing rapid growth like we are at Mighty Dog Roofing, like we are going to do with other brands. And they have experienced a franchise team with a franchisor, an experienced franchisor. And I have tremendous amount of respect for them. Yet, if you are thinking about becoming a part of an emerging brand that's growing and their only claim to fame is we're selling out a ton of franchises, that doesn't necessarily translate into a good thing. If you are an experienced entrepreneur and you just, you know what you're getting into and you get great territory, that's one thing. But if you are coming from corporate America, there's so many things that are more important than a brand that's just selling out fast. So I say we're going to sell 40 new franchisees, about 40 franchisees by the end of the year. That's not what's impressive. And that's what a lot of people on the outside will find impressive. But what's really impressive is how we support franchisees from the inside. And it starts with, the training and once they sign franchise agreements. So Jon, just give us some insight into that. Like if you were going at it alone versus with us, the support of the franchisee growing that fast, like what do you see?
Oh, well, that was one of the values that I saw with Josh and the partnership, was the infrastructure that has to go into place to support, because it's not just about selling franchises, it's about selling and having successful franchisees and the money that it takes to invest into that, hiring your staff, setting up all the partnerships, the attorneys, everything that goes into protecting them at a local level with agreements and us at a national level. All that is very expensive, and it's not something I was capable of taking on myself. It would have been maybe 10 years, I would say. I would maybe get to 10 locations because I might have been able to handle one a year.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So this is a good point to say there's nothing wrong with growing slow. As a franchisor, and I've had mentors of mine said, Eric, are you sure you want to grow that fast? It costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of effort. And I was coming from a lifestyle place. I was just talking to Gino Wickman about this. He's like, there's some entrepreneurs that are in that lifestyle place and they don't want to grow something big. He said, but those true entrepreneurs, they will want to be multi-unit franchisees, multi-brand franchisees, or maybe a franchisor as well. So I get that where, it's okay on a franchisor level to not grow insanely fast like this because it comes with a lot of work. The last 3 months, I've been working like crazy. Like I have not worked this hard since I first started franchising 20 years ago, Jon. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? At times I'm like, what am I doing? Doing the things that I want to hire somebody to do. But there's also something that was really fun about that, like getting into the weeds, building something from like ground zero. I used to have people that interviewed people for me. Now I had to do the interviews to hire my director of marketing and whatnot. So it was like this fun being at the ground floor as an entrepreneur working, because that's what all of our franchisees are going to do. They're going to have to put in that hustle. They're going to have to put in that work, but we're going to, so any franchisor out there, there's 2 ways to grow. There's really, or 3 ways: really slow, moderate rate, and then scaling rapidly, like what we're doing at Mighty Dog and Horsepower Brands. One is not better than the other. One definitely may be better than the other for you as a franchisor that is wanting to grow. And I've had multiple people and clubhouses that I've done, Facebook Lives, that always bring it back to this, because I talk about what I'm doing and like, Eric, you guys are unicorns. There's nobody else that's really able to do what you guys are doing. So talk to the average franchisor out there. So I think, Jon, I'd like to get your take on this, but the average franchisor probably should be growing at a handful, 2 to 3 to 4 units a year, if they're really focused on it as a franchisor, and then get their systems and processes dialed in, and they can learn from their franchisees and grow together. And their franchisees know that they're taking a big risk being a part of an early brand like that. And then start to scale, after they've been in it for a handful of years. That's what I see most normal growth franchisors do. Like, what do you, like, when it was going through your head, when you were thinking about growing either kind of slow or fast, like what were some of the, what was the devil on each side of you saying, grow slow, grow fast? And what was going on in your head? And what advice would you have for other people that are thinking about the same thing right now?
If you've got, it kind of goes back to, if you know the space and have the capital, maybe rapidly is your take. But if you are uncertain of the space and want to take on the risk, and ultimately it's kind of the risk of all the franchisees as well. I didn't want to take that risk because I like to sleep with both eyes closed at night. But I care about the success of these people as well, and don't want to set them up for failure. And that's the part where it's kind of a judgment call. And from a partnership standpoint, and my take was, I care more about the success and the growth than I did, doing it myself and being the only franchisor. I'd rather have the partners that know the space than try to learn it on my own and limp along.
That's well said. The space, I mean, it's the industry space, the franchise space. You need to know both of those, have experts in both of those. Jon's the expert in the industry space. We're the experts in the franchising space. And when I say experts, it's not self-proclaimed experts. It's because we have history in it. We've been in it for years and years. I mean, I've been in franchising for 20 years. Josh has built 2 companies. I mean, you've worked for roofers before you got your own company. So like, it's track record success, track record history, not just, and which makes you an expert, not just because you did well for a short period of time. That does not make you an expert. And I think there's too many people out there that are experts that haven't been punched in the face, that haven't seen some of the bad stuff happen. And you and I both know, we've had very open conversations with Josh about that, some of the mistakes that he made early on at his first franchise, Monster Tree Removal. And he's very open about it, but that's the only way we get better. So what advice would you have for somebody that's out there, they have a business that they think is franchisable and they are thinking about franchising it? Like, just knowing what you've gone through, just generic advice that you would have for someone that came to you and said, Jon, should I franchise my business? Maybe you have questions for them, maybe you have advice for them, but they said, Jon, I'm thinking about franchising my business. What advice would you give me?
I think I'd have to ask him a couple of things, and the simplicity of the business, and how simple is it for somebody to come in, not in the industry, to own and operate that business. And I think that's really geared down to like a system standpoint, because you can learn the home service space in really any industry. There's testing that you can take for it. There's classes that you could probably take at colleges or whatever, but it's then owning and operating that business and what the systems are that are in place to simplify that for me, and what kind of safeguards and protections are in place to keep me from making the mistakes that were costly, because I've made them, and that's why a lot of just about every system that's in place is in place for a reason, to safeguard me and protect my business. I love that. I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah, that's great advice. By the way, anybody that's thinking about, like, you have a brand that you're thinking about franchising, or you are thinking that Mighty Dog Roofing might be an interesting business opportunity for you, just reach out to me. Go to franchisesecrets.com, email me, reach out to me. Love to connect with you. So, Jon, the first group of franchisees that are coming in, we have. Well, let me back up. You said something that was really important about we care about the success of franchisees. Like that is at the core of who we are. I was making a decision earlier today, and my response back via email to my director of marketing and one of our vendors is, I said, as a franchisee, I would prefer to do option A versus option B. And so, as I did that, I looked back at the email that I just typed up, and I realized that I'm making decisions as if I was a franchisee. In other words, we are making decisions that are franchisee focused. And that's one of the core things about us. We are franchisee focused. But what else drew you to us from an ethical standpoint, from a doing the right thing standpoint? Because you said it, like that's why we are attracted to each other's business models, because of how we did business.
Yeah, I mean, it's the integrity that we bring forward into the business, because it's not an act, it's something that we live by. And I've heard the saying, it's been thrown around often while we've been together, as do the right thing when nobody's looking. Not just when somebody's looking, but even when somebody's not. It's just taking that approach with everything in your day-to-day life, I think, is important, especially in business. Even down to the consumer level, so that's the kind of people that we want to attract into this business, into this industry, because in this industry and many home service industries, you'll find that people don't have that approach, and it's not, there's not a lot of integrity, or there may not be. And that's something that I think is important.
So as one of the founders, one of the owners of Mighty Dog Roofing, what's going to happen? Like, as you see, what's your role in the company? Like, how are you helping franchisees?
So myself and I've got Dave and Tanner that is going to be handling or helping train the sales and operations side of the business. So Dave is going to be focused more on the sales side. Tanner will be on the operations side, and that's as we'll hire as needed as we continue to grow and expand, because that level of support needs to be there. At least that's what I envision. And but the sales and operations, you have guys that are dedicated there solely for the sales side, the operations side. There's really three parts of the business.
What are the three parts? Three parts of the business. What are the three parts of the business?
Sell, install, and collect. That's the you focus on those things, and everything else kind of takes care of itself.
So I think any potential franchisor or franchisee, is so easy to make things complicated. It's so easy to get to, you could turn those things into three things into 300 different things if you really wanted to. And that's when business owners get stuck in the weeds. They start focusing on the wrong things. And so I love that you said that. So like, as a franchisor, someone that's coaching franchisees to be successful, how do you keep bringing them back to that? Like if they get out there, they get distracted, what would you do? What would you coach them to get back to the three main drivers of the business?
I mean, there's kind of a lot of variables that we'll monitor, just that we call KPIs and key performance indicators, that we'll look at, hey, lead flow, conversion rates. When those things start tailing off from the sales to close rate perspective, then you can kind of dial into what kind of issues, maybe there's some sales training that needs to be involved. Now, if again, on the production side, what's going to tell about the production side is the collections, because if collections are getting high, well, okay, what's causing that? Is there quality control issues, and then you can get into the operation side of the business. So you've got focal points that, the key points of the business that will direct you into what needs to be helped.
Dude, I want to shift gears a little bit into the decision to actually franchise, and scale rapidly. So franchise and scale rapidly. Jon, you had a good life before. You still have a good life, but you had a good life, house, vacation house, fishing boat. I mean, I still need to get on that fishing boat, by the way. You had a really good life. Why disrupt that and franchise? And I have to ask myself the same question because I was the same way, but this is just a real curious question.
I'm still young. We're both still young, and I still got some fuel in the tank. So, I guess the dream is to kind of have a location, our brand in every market across the U.S. Really, because what that brand brings to the table in terms of the honesty, the integrity, the success. And, that's been a goal of mine is, I've been in 3 different markets at the same time. And one of the things that I've recognized, honestly, is I can't do it all, so, the power, like Horsepower Brands, for example, I love the name because the horsepower that it brings because of the people, the people that are behind you pushing the motor, and keep things trucking.
I love it. Tell us a little bit about your background.
My background?
Yep.
So my background, I was in the Marine Corps, served during Desert Storm. I wasn't in Desert Storm, but then got out, had an operations type background. Enjoyed that, but really I liked the sales. I got into sales and started selling real estate in early 2000. And shortly before the real estate market, actually people thought that I was a genius, that I changed industries right before the real estate market tanked in '08. And a buddy of mine had a roofing company and had offered me to come and sell, roofs for him. And that's what I ended up doing and loved it. A couple of years went by and he was like, all right, what's next? And he was like, well, I'll bring you inside. We'll teach you the operations. And the thing that, that I learned and when I went on to have my own locations is, the transparency. And it wasn't there. And, a lot of people said, well, what in the world were you doing buying a company that was out of state? Because that was a big headache, as you can imagine, with my wife. She was like, as long as we don't have to move. And I was like, yes. No, we don't have to move. We're not going to. So knowing that I made that commitment to her, I had to figure out a way, how can I do this remotely and not have to be there every week? And, and the systems weren't as prevalent as they are now, like CRMs. I think it's become more common than it was back then. But really, a CRM that is dialed into the business in all aspects with the selling, your estimating, your scheduling, your invoicing, all done in one that syncs with your accounting software. That's what all got dialed in prior to me franchising.
Well, that brings up another point, and just having a moat around your business. And we think about that at Mighty Dog and any brand that we bring into Horsepower, just having, things that we do better or differently than other people. And one of the things that we're doing, very robust in marketing, but also technology. It's in home services a lot of times, and whatever business you're in, or you're wanting to franchise, or maybe you are a franchisee in, like, what are you doing differently than everybody else is doing? And maybe your franchisor is helping you with that, and maybe they're not, but regardless, like, you should have things that you're doing differently than what the competition is doing. In home services, it's pretty easy to be different half the time. One of the things is just answer the phone. If you answer it by the second ring, like, you are light years ahead of everybody else. And that's why we have a call center, because we know as business owners, you get distracted and you just aren't able to answer the phone. Or if you are, you have somebody else answering it and you don't know the consistency of it. So it's things like that, having a trusted vendor that can, answer the phone right away and have a systematic, proven approach to setting appointments. And then just technology. One of the things that we do is with the drone. You just get on your iPad, you put the drone sitting there, you put on your iPad and you basically just hit lift off. The drone goes up, measures the roof 3 times, kicks out a report that tells you all the damage with artificial intelligence that, can't be disputed. And that basically goes to the homeowner and they've never seen anything like that before.
Right.
So it's things like that, using technology that other people aren't doing. Now that's new and innovative and very good right now. In 5 years, that will probably be the standard. And we at Mighty Dog will be doing something else to make sure that we are standing out in front of our customers. But the other thing is this, there's so many different things in home services, John. That's why it's so attractive, because there's so many people that just aren't doing the basics very well. But at the end of the day, that's franchising in general. The people that win at franchising are just doing the basic stuff consistently. What else are you seeing with that? Like, what else do you see as makes Mighty Dog or any other brand that we get involved with different? Protects us, protects the brand name, protects the franchisees, sets us apart.
I mean, I think the innovation you touched on in that, staying ahead of the curve, like not being afraid to try something different that makes sense from us at a consumer level. If we were the consumer, because we're all consumers, and what would we like, in that space? Is it artificial intelligence because you can't necessarily trust everybody? You don't know who to trust because you've got multiple opinions. This is relying on a third party, and I think the insurance companies are beginning to adopt that technology.
Yep.
But it's that in not just inspections, but even from a marketing standpoint. Like, if something new has a special sauce that we want to try, we'll try it. I'll try it at the location, and we'll test it and confirm, like, hey, it does work. And then before rolling it out, those like Google Ads, local service, all the different Home Advisor, there's a gazillion different, marketers out there that, if you own a business in the home service space, I'm sure you get blown up daily. Like, hey, can you handle 30 more jobs a month or 150 leads? It's like, yeah, what's the hook? To where it's just ignore. You don't know who you can trust right now. Well, that's something that we bring to the table that we've all been around the block and can know how to hold people not accountable, but kind of get into the weeds with them and what's their success.
There's so many people out there, especially in marketing, that promise the world and they never deliver. Yeah. And I was just talking, in marketing and just in general, so many people over promise and under deliver. And one of the things that we want to do as a franchisor is just always be vetting people like that out. And if we have to test it, we're going to get it wrong. We will absolutely get the wrong vendor, the wrong thing, the wrong person, we will get it wrong, but we don't want to roll it out nationwide wrong. And that's why there's people like you that have will test different things, will try different things. And franchisees, once they get the basics down and they're doing what they want to do, they'll start wanting to test and innovate. And that's how great franchisors become great. It's not just the franchisor. Like we want to be a great franchisor across all of our brands, but the only reason we will become great, like really great, is by innovating with our franchisees. Because franchisees, like we have 100 or 200 franchisees out there that are testing and trying and giving us feedback, and we have a feedback loop for that. That's how brands become great. Challenge is, most franchisors don't want to listen at that point, and they're catering to the middle to the bottom segment of the franchisees out there versus always learning and helping the top ones grow. I think that's one of the things that we think differently than most of the brands out there. And I've been a part of them. Then they'll say, you talk to anybody in franchising, they'll say, we just, want to help the best get a little bit better, not to rock the boat. We really focus on that middle group. And then you've got the people that we help work out of the system. That's most of franchising. At Mighty Dog, we want our top franchisees to be like massive empire builders, and we want to help them get there. And then they can help and show other franchisees what's possible. So we don't want to just be focusing on that middle group and be a mediocre franchisor. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to grow with you, man. I'm looking forward to it. Any other last bits of wisdom, pieces of advice, thoughts that are going through your head that you think franchisees or possible franchisors would want to know?
I think that you kind of touched on it too, is the communication between the franchisees and the franchisor. Keeping that line of communication open, exploring, ways of improving even when we are doing well, not having a tunnel vision, but kind of look at things from a different perspective and communicate that, and have it all, if we have everybody teaming together and what's working, it's only going to help us all get stronger. And keeping that communication lines open is going to be helpful. And
now you can see why myself, Josh, and Zach partnered with Jon, because he was the right fit for us and we were the right fit for him. And we're looking forward to doing this with more brands. And even now, I'm like, we're going to do this with probably 10 more brands or 9 more brands. And you were the guinea pig of this, just like you are with this other stuff. But like expectations, is it going better or worse, as good or better than you thought it would with this partnership with us?
It's going very well. And I think Josh had asked me a couple of weeks ago, we were together, did you think it was going to happen this fast? I said, hoped. Hope was the word, but I did think, and I didn't have the doubt, I've got good taste. So good job, guys.
I'll see you soon, partner.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Whether you're watching or listening, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to whatever channel you're listening on. If you want my help with anything from buying a franchise to franchising your business, please visit franchisesecrets.com.